major risk to go beyond what was comfortable before, or even a minor risk. And like someone said earlier, I know her better than a lot of the people that I know that I work with every day. That's powerful. And I appreciate that because I hear that all the time. I appreciate you sharing that here, because how can we have trust? It's the foundation of any team unless we know each other. We can save time by knowing each other on a deep level. And every minute saved helps make your company that much more effective. Can you imagine a 1 minute times the number of staff that you have per day in your company? 1 minute saved? We've been measuring it at People Tech. 80 hours per year saved when you improve how we communicate, how we handle conflict, how we make decisions, how we trust each other. 80 hours. So if you can use this icebreaker, back we're going to save 1 minute, you're ahead of the game. So feel free to use it. Empower yourself to take it there. So we're going to go over the 12 steps to courageous leadership. And the first one is passion. Passion is so easily picked up. And I like to look at Mr. Syed. I unfortunately went to the wrong airport in Houston last week on an assignment. My rental car was at Houston Hobby, and I flew into International. And I don't know if it's part of the deal or not, but they have limo drives there waiting to take you over for $85. But anyway, yeah, it kind of... But Mr. Syed's passion was unbelievable. Mr. Syed owns the limo company. But regardless of that, I didn't know that at the time. He was 31 years old, and he said, Mr. Kublin, man, you're having such a good attitude while this is happening to you. It's amazing. Here, do you want a towel to warm your face? And he had hot towels with him. Mr. Kublin, do you need some water? Here's some water. And he was so enthusiastic, but he was so happy to be able to take, and he wanted to know me. He was asking me all kinds of questions. What business are you in? Where'd you come from? How long are you stuck? It's sad. What's going on? He empathized with you. And I am telling you, that's passion. He ate, slept, and drank his responsibility. How many of us eat, sleep, and drink our responsibility? Now, there's a book called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow by Marcia Sindler. She used to be Marsha Weidner. It's Marcia Sindler. And she gives advice. How do we do that? Now, if you don't want to read that, that's fine. All I'm saying is how you show up and the responsibilities that you show up in, you have to be a Mr. Syed. Because people are watching that every day. And that's passion. Where is your passion? So in number 1 on your sheet, could you do anything in that area? Is there anything you could do to take passion to another level? Maybe read that book. Maybe read another book. Doesn't matter. Document your goals. There's a book by Jim Horan called The One-Page Business Plan. Highly recommended. One-page business plan. You get your entire business plan on one page. And it's fabulous. Jim's been doing it for a long time. He's got it broken down into finance, every discipline, entrepreneurialism, business owners, staff. It's out there. And if you can always call Jim, he'll call you back. Phenomenal leader. Document your goals, because they've proven that goals need to be documented. And on the passion one, there's nobody more passionate than Nelson Mandela about what he stood for. But we all are going to be. Like I said, Mr. Syed is passionate. We're all not going to be to the level of Nelson. Zappos, shoes, we've heard of too. Goals, document your goals. But we're not going to all be that. And I'm going to give you Steve Noodleberg. Nobody here has heard of Steve, or maybe you have heard of Steve. He runs a company called On the Ball. And here's something you can take and implement right away. He has a thing called 50 cups of coffee. 50 cups of coffee. If you implement nothing, implement 50 cups of coffee. What it is a list of 50 people that you need to talk to over the next couple of months, that you need to have a cup of coffee with to build your relationship with them and get to know them on a deeper level, get to ask them questions, because great questions will lead to a better relationship. I highly encourage you to do that. Commitment. Are we committed to what we say our goals are? And Susan Jeffers wrote a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, because people find out if you're committed or not. You find out. So you might want to read a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, Susan Jeffers. Because we're all going to feel fear, and do we either live in fear and let that control us, or do we maybe believe in ourselves, take a chance, step out into an uncomfort zone? Step 3. Step 4, know your strengths and the strengths of others. And has anybody ever here done strength finders? Okay, I see kind of. And you like it? Yeah, it's good. Well, I encourage you to read strength finders. It's out there. Rath, I think, is the person that wrote it. However, you could do that. You could do Myers-Briggs. You could do DISC. You could do 1,000 free instruments that are out on the internet. They're all good. Even the free ones I've checked out are good. Doesn't matter which one. You could do a 360-degree feedback. Now, you see Steve Jobs up there. How many people read the Steve Jobs book? Nobody? It's a fabulous book. It's by Walter Isaacson. And at the end of Steve's life, he asked the human resource leader, how did I show up? And she said, in the beginning, because he said, did I get better? And she said, yes, Stephen, you did. In the beginning, it was very rough. For many years, it was very rough because he didn't know how to treat his emotions, and he didn't know how to treat others, and he didn't know the strengths of others and the power that they can bring. But she said, later, he really acknowledged it, but it took a while. Communicate clearly and with confidence. And I like to... Has anybody here ever heard of Toastmasters? Okay. Has anybody been part of Toastmasters? Awesome. What did you get out of Toastmasters?
What am I still getting out of it?
Yes. What are you still... That's awesome. What are you still getting out of it?
Confidence.
Confidence. Does anybody here not want confidence? It's awesome. Simple, just like he said this morning. Toastmasters is awesome. It puts you into an uncomfort zone because you got to show up, right? But if you show up, you're going to get something out of it. I highly recommend that to everyone. Healthy conflict. What do we mean by healthy? Giving and receiving feedback. Has anybody ever read Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team? Awesome book, right? Now, he's rebranded it to the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team to make it more positive. It's still the dysfunctions that are out there, but we're now looking at it as cohesion. How do we bring... And one of the things is healthy conflict. Being able to not be in fear or afraid of asking for what you need from one of your teammates. Wouldn't that be great? I highly recommend Crucial Conversations as well by Patterson. It's a phenomenal book. Purchase it today. Okay. Developing others. Really, really so important. And when I put it for this one, there's so many good books. Pick out any coaching book. Anyone. Do a Google on coaching. 10,000 will come up. They're all good. They all will give you tips on how to develop somebody else. I highly encourage you to do it. Those are the founders of Google. They coach. They believe in coaching. They pay for it for their staff. It works. Effective delegation. Meaning not hold on to do it yourself. And I like to look at a tool here called Situational Leadership. Has anybody heard of Situational Leadership by Ken Blanchard? Phenomenal. It will transform how you think about delegating. Ken Blanchard. Really, really important because delegation is a very single important behavior, particularly from becoming a technician to becoming a manager leader. Why is it so important? Why is it important? You can't do everything yourself. Right. And if you don't create a franchise of yourself, you haven't really done your job. What do I mean by that? Franchises are the most successful businesses in the entire world. And why are they so successful? Is because they create a repeatable process. You need to do that of you. Somebody needs to be able to do exactly what you do. So you have to coach them, you have to develop them, you have to set up the process for it. And if you can't delegate and know where they're at, because of situational leadership, they have 4 different stages of readiness, you can't do it as effective as you could. You can't just dump it on them and run, particularly in the beginning. And that's what situational leadership is about. Make sense? Develop a skill. And I like to use Carol Dweck. She wrote a book called Mindset. And in this book, she talks about having a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And she describes the fixed mindset as people that like to do everything the same all the time, and they don't want to take any risk, they don't want to make any mistakes, they want to be perfect all the time. Now that's a good goal, but what does that do to our learning? Now she studied kids for 35 years. Well, kids, adults, she studied for 35 years this fixed mindset, growth mindset concept. And what she found is that even kids at a young age develop this fixed or growth mindset. And we all have kind of both coming in and out of us, but we need to know when we're in one or when we're in the other. And how do we shoot ourselves into a growth mindset? So to develop